What's up, fellas? This video right here is about the masculine and feminine and the trickiness of the masculine and the feminine, or the male and the female, and how we have to keep them separated, yet at the same time the trickiness of doing that in the modern world. Okay, so I think something that is very important is the fact that male and female nature are in fact very different. Yeah, we all have a lot of similarities. We all have blood and skin and the desire to enjoy life, and we need food and water and all this different shit, right? Okay, but there's some fundamental differences between female nature, which is actually like the feminine itself is the opposite of the masculine in terms of consciousness. And when I say that, I mean the masculine and feminine inside us. It's the duality of life. You know, the fact that we are this physical body, and then we're also able to observe this physical body. You know, it's the fact that we are in this limited life of living 100 years, but also we came from a place that is eternal. That's the duality. So when I say the masculine and feminine in that regard, it's very specific. It's like they're literally the opposite. Life and death or something like that. They're opposites. So the masculine and feminine themselves are literally the opposite. But then as male and female, you know, males should be or tend to be or are in their most power when we're more masculine. And females are more in their natural state when they're in their feminine. So masculine and feminine are literally opposites. And then I should say that male and female, there's enough differences in male and female nature that you can't treat them as they're the same. You cannot treat them as if they're the same, or you are missing the point completely as far as what male and female, or as far as like what a woman, female actually truly wants on the deepest level. Okay? I really feel that a woman wants to be steered. She wants to be dominated. She wants to be lovingly dominated. Okay? She wants to be she wants to feel loved and secure and cared about, because of her humanness needs to feel that in order to feel that that's taken care of as far as her human nature. Okay, she wants to feel loved and cared for, but beyond that, she wants to be steered. She wants to be lovingly dominated. It's very much like a father-daughter relationship, like the healthiest father-daughter relationship that you can have. Not where the father lets her run wild and it just spoils her with everything, but like where she feels loved, but there's discipline, lovingly dominated. Absolutely. That is the ideal dynamic of male to female. A woman wants to be steered. She wants to feel loved. That's her emotional side, wants to get what she needs in exchange from a man, which means he's going to be more logical and is going to steer her. She wants to be steered. She wants to be literally like where she doesn't have to think, because she wants to be in her feminine emotions. She wants to be able to just feel, where she doesn't have to think, where she can be in like a container, very much like a child that is in a container can be free but is taken care of. Okay, she wants to be in a place where she can just be in her feminine, in her emotions, and just feel. But where she feels loved, and then the man can take care of the logic and the steering, so she doesn't have to think like that. So she just needs to know that it's going the right direction. When she feels it and knows that it's going the right direction, then she can trust that, and she wants to be steered and dominated in that way where she doesn't have to think and she can just be in her emotions. That's very much where like a woman, like just being in the kitchen, cooking and cleaning, or, you know, like just doing all that to serve a man. In exchange, though, for the man actually taking care of the structure and the order and boundary of everything. So the man, it's not fucking for free. The man has to do all this shit to step up, to become strong and handle all this adversity and take care of all the bullshit. So it's never free. So if you really open up, you see that it's not just men oppressing women. It's a balance of the two sides of the yin yang. But deep down, a woman wants to feel loved and she wants to be steered. Okay, so she doesn't have to think, she doesn't have to worry about all that. She doesn't have to be in the logic, because that's the male side. So she can just feel and be in her emotions and be in her feminine, but in her feminine knowing that it's taken care of. So literally, I think that I really truly believe that a woman wants to be steered. She wants to have a man control her, if you will. Take care of the steering wheel. She wants to feel dominated because she wants to feel like when she's dominated, if she can feel like she can surrender into that, then she goes into her feminine. Full submissive, and she's in her full feminine, and the man can be in his full masculine about that, and that's when sex happens, and that's when it can be amazing. But she has to feel safe doing that, and there's a responsibility to it. But deep down, a woman wants to be like under a man, submitting to a man, dominated by the right man, steered, guided by that man. Okay? So there's a masculine has to do to the feminine. It's very much there. And we could bypass it, but then something's missing. And you know, I really feel that women are still craving that and wanting that. And they may go get flavors of that from the bad boy or however you want to go about it. But that's actually like an ingredient that can't be overlooked, even though it's hard to look at and hard to understand and hard to talk about, especially in all society, both genders. It's hard to talk about because there's so much fear around it. But there's absolutely a masculine to a feminine dynamic that the woman wants to submit to the right masculine. She wants it. It's like, that's like the actual part of the answer. That's part of the healthy dynamic. The men and the women, there is a right way to balance this and land it. And it's like something that they want. And so there is a masculine to the feminine dynamic. There is a way that the masculine or the man has to interact with the woman sometimes, where it's like the masculine understands it with logic, but it doesn't only logic the woman. It like interacts with her in a way that is honoring her emotionally. So it's kind of like this two sides of the coin coming together. It's fire and water, it's hot and cold, it's art and math coming together. The math has to understand how to artistically interact with the art so that the art feels like it understands the math's reasoning for it. That's the masculine feminine. It's like a very evolved thing in order to be able to do what I'm talking about, but it's the correct actual balance of it. That's why so many people have so much trouble with it, and people have trouble with dating, and you got men are from Mars and women are from Venus, which is true, and you have like comedians always making jokes about how, oh, you can't understand women, can't live with them, can't live without them, and all this shit. That's why we have that, is because it's like such an evolved thing to actually master. It's the two sides of the coin that will like never stop dancing. But it very much is there. So it's like, if we want to become evolved supermen, elite select alpha males that are like really rare right now to be able to really live this world that right way, we have to be in our masculine and aware of ourselves as men, then simultaneously being able to interact healthily with the feminine. So there's very much certain parts of it where you have to say, like, it's almost like you have to say things like, ignore the woman on this, or oh, the woman is not understanding this. So you have to almost like disregard some of what they're doing. And that's very much true. Like a woman may be doing something where it's as if she's saying one thing, but it emotionally means something else that you have to then feel into and then respond in a way that handles her emotional communication. That on some level she knows it, but if you say this kind of stuff, if you say, oh, that's just your emotional communication, it really means this, stuff that men should talk about in men's groups, to understand that this woman doing this thing actually means this other thing that you're supposed to then respond to that other thing. Because you're supposed to respond to how she feels and to answer that desire for your strength and guidance. If you to talk about that kind of stuff, then women they like try to disarm it. They'll be like, no, I always say what I mean. No, I say what I mean, and this and that and the other. And it's like, you can't take them literally. You can't take them at face value on that. And it's like, so some of the shit you can't even talk about. You can't even talk about in the full spectrum of both genders. You can't talk about it in the public because the women will like disarm it. And there's a couple reasons for that. They'll disarm it and say, no, I always say what I mean. And they'll essentially seem like they're manipulating the shit out of you. And if you know as good as fucking anybody that's not the truth, that they're actually like, this is the way that the women really are being and communicating, then it's like, it almost seems as if they're manipulating. Because they're like, no, I say what I mean, da 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 da, and then they turn around and say one thing and do another. And it's almost like they're manipulating. But really, it's like, it's not even a logical communication. It's like an emotional, feminine communication. It's another case of them communicating that way emotionally. So they're just like emoting it. They're just emoting this stuff. And you as a man are supposed to understand yourself as a man and then understand them as a woman. And actually understand that they're not even necessarily saying what they mean literally. But you don't even want to feed into too much of that, because then they go more into that. You just want to understand yourself as a man, as one of the guides and leaders in this world, and then understand them as women. To where then you can interact with that, and you see that it's not even like necessarily manipulation, but it's not something you could directly and openly talk about on a logical level and then literally believe everything they're saying and bring that into the conversation for construction, because on a logical level, that's not even the truth. They don't say exactly what they mean. They do that stuff. So it's like, you have to be like, okay, well, that's just feminine communication emoting. So as a man, it's like there absolutely is. So it's like it's like as a man, they need you to know better than that. And it's like on some level, they don't even want you to believe them when they say, oh, I always say what I mean and all that. I don't even know if it's an active test. I don't even know that they're attached to it. They're just emoting. And part of it comes from just the fact of emoting in that moment. It's like they're always trying to escape their own ego or something. And they're like, almost, it's like this perpetual like running from fear until the masculine grounds it. And it's like, partly it's fear-based as well, because if they go, oh, all we need is to be dominated by men, they don't feel safe because they don't feel that the man has emotionally proven to them that it's worthy of dominating them. So the man that gets to dominate them and guide them and be their father figure is the man that can cut through all of it. Is the man that does know himself well enough in his own masculine to know to almost ignore all of what she's saying and cut through and ravish her energetically. The man that knows himself well enough to cut through all that amidst her saying, oh, I say what I mean and da 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 da, is the man that proves his stability, strength, and worthiness to guide and dominate her is the one who proves that he is safe enough to dominate her, for her to surrender fully into her feminine, which is pure vulnerability. Pure surrender. So it's like you have to we have to understand that there absolutely is a masculine and feminine role and a masculine and feminine dynamic, but because of the female nature of things and everything, females will like disarm it and confuse it to their own dismay if we talk about it in too public of a circle. If you talk about the masculine and the feminine too much, you talk too much about women's mind games or manipulation, or women are emotionally reactive or this or that to go for this or that kind of guy or this or that kind of situation. Whatever kind of terminology you use, they'll always disarm it. And it'll always come off as, a lot of times it'll also come off as your butt hurt or something like this or that. Oh, your butt hurt by women. But no, like I'm literally just describing female nature in a very logical way. And so we have to know that as men, we must know ourselves. And we must understand that there is a masculine and feminine dynamic and a male to female nature dynamic. But we also must understand, and I see this is why people do this is why people say things like, oh, men and women are the same, because it's almost like incredible to try to actually talk about it with the right dialect to actually get results with it, because it's so slippery and it's like almost impossible. And that's where almost like a man needs to keep his mouth shut at certain times in order, as part of what he needs to do. So as men, we need to understand ourselves and do all the work to understand ourselves as men. But then understand that there is a male to female dynamic that sometimes it's two sides of the yin yang that we can't necessarily talk about with everybody, and we have to actually fully acknowledge it in our men's circles. And also let the female know, if need be, that it's not anything against them. It's art and math. But to not let the art blur all over the math to where the math fails to keep the museum organized, if you will. Okay, so we have a very precise but important role as men to become very clear in ourselves, but not fail. To acknowledge and not fail to continue to be aware of female nature and the way female nature really is. A female wants to be steered by a man. A female wants to be lovingly dominated. She wants to submit to a man. If that man is so clear in himself that he knows himself above all else, knows how to love her properly amidst all of the chaos, amidst all of the distraction, amidst all of the waves of the ocean, the storms. A woman wants to be steered by a man. A woman wants to submit to a man fully, if that man knows himself above all else and knows how to love her right. I hope you got some value out of that. Thanks for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe. If you have anything you want to say, drop it down in the comments. I will read them. If any of you guys want to chop it up with me, talk about where you're at in life, maybe something you're going through, maybe you just want to know more about me, shoot me an email to comeupmikeg@gmail.com and we can link up, do a video chat, maybe a phone call. This may become something more in the future, but right now I just want to connect with my brothers who are on their path of self-development to become their best versions of themselves as men. I want all of us to become our best versions of ourselves as men because we are all infinitely powerful. We are all warriors. Like I said, thanks for tuning into the channel, and I will see you guys next time. As always, get up and stay up, my brothers. Stay focused. Get strong and stay strong, motherfuckers. Peace out.